Man, oh man, does this computer ever have great color resolution. You're wrong, and I'll tell you why. So, classic LED screens work by passing current through a backlight, which is always on. So that's this part here. This light is then passed through a shutter, which is made of crystals, and that's connected to an external circuit, which is here. So depending on the angle of those crystals, the light will be passed through or not passed through to a certain degree. That then passes through a filter, which is comprised of 3 different colors. So that's these here. Those are red, green, and blue. So RGB. And then from there, it forms a pixel. So at a certain distance, the eye can't differentiate between the 3 colors being combined. So it makes one color, and that's what we see as a pixel. So that's the purple squares here. So the downside to this is that the backlight is always on. So this part is always illuminated, and you're just controlling it with the shutters here. So your difference for black pixels is worse, which makes your contrast worse. Okay, so now that we've talked about conventional light-emitting diodes or LEDs and TVs, what's an OLED, or an organic light-emitting diode? So here we have the anode and the cathode. So the anode is down here, and the cathode is up here. And we have an electron flow between the two of them from an external applied current. So that's here. So it's taking electrons out of the HOMO of the molecule, passing them around an external circuit into the cathode up here, and then repairing them into the hole that they left, which emits light here. So using this principle, we can stack a bunch of these emitters and create sort of option 1 for OLEDs, which is an array of molecules that emit at different wavelengths. So by controlling the voltage, we can control how much blue, red, and green we're getting, and that'll give a pixel that can be seen here. So a combination of all 3 colors. And then the other route, which is mostly done by LG, is to have a series of them that are all emitting white light. So I've drawn it gray here so you can see it, but this is white emission, and then that's passed through a filter, and it leads again to a pixel that we see out here. So the big advantage of LEDs over conventional LEDs is that you can put them much closer together than a regular diode. So diodes have to be spaced because of physical limitations with voltages, but with these sort of chemical or organic light-emitting diodes, you're able to put them much closer together, which leads to better pixels. You also don't need a backlight on all the time because you're able to turn the lights on and off individually rather than having it always on in the back like with an LED display. So how is this done, or what sort of makes a good R group? Well, the principle being used here is chemiluminescence. Which is emitting light when a current is applied across the substance. So you want a high emission for these OLEDs, and that's a high quantum yield for fluorescence or phosphorescence. I'm missing a P there. So some molecules that are used conventionally are sort of examples of them are shown up here. And you can see what they all have in common is that they're really rigid and they have high pi star character. So you want singlet emissions here. And what ends up happening is that you get excitation from an external circuit. That's step 1. So that'll excite you into the S1 or S2 or higher than that because you're able to really get those electrons moving. There's then internal conversion back down to S1. And from there you get emission HV. So really sort of common molecule or interesting molecule in this area are polyfluorines. These are just sort of polyfluorinated molecules. So aromatics like this. Kind of keep going. But depending on the substitution patterns and the different groups that you dope in with them, they can do red, green, and blue. And they also emit blue, which allows for fret.